Please like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Near-death experiences evidence for their reality. Near-death experiences, NDEs, are reported by about 17% of those who nearly die. NDEs have been reported by children, adults, scientists, physicians, priests, ministers, among the religious and atheists, and from countries throughout the world. While no two NDEs are the same, there are characteristic features that are commonly observed in NDEs. These characteristics include a perception of seeing and hearing apart from the physical body, passing into or through a tunnel, encountering a mystical light. Intense and generally positive emotions, a review of part or all of their prior life experiences, encountering deceased loved ones, and a choice to return to their earthly life. Individuals were considered to be near death if they were so physically compromised that if their condition did not improve they would be expected to irreversibly die. Near-death experiencers, NDERs, included in my investigations were generally unconscious and may have required cardiopulmonary resuscitation. The experience component of an NDE had to occur when they were near death. Line of evidence number 1. Near-death experiences occur at a time when the person is so physically compromised that they are typically unconscious, comatose, or clinically dead. Most NDERs report supernormal consciousness at the time of their NDEs. The NDERF survey asked, "How did your highest level of consciousness and alertness during the experience compare to your normal, everyday consciousness and alertness?" Of 1,122 NDERs surveyed, 835, 74.4%, indicated they had more consciousness and alertness than normal. 229, 20.4%, experienced normal consciousness and alertness, and only 58, 5.2%, had less consciousness and alertness than normal. Near-death experiences often occur in association with cardiac arrest. Prior studies found that 10 to 20 seconds following cardiac arrest, electroencephalogram measurements generally find no significant measurable brain cortical electrical activity. A prolonged, detailed, lucid experience following cardiac arrest should not be possible, yet this is reported in many NDEs. This is especially notable given the prolonged period of amnesia that typically precedes and follows recovery from cardiac arrest. Line of evidence number 2. Seeing ongoing events from a location apart from the physical body while unconscious, out-of-body experience. A common characteristic of near-death experiences is an out-of-body experience. An out-of-body experience, OB, is the apparent separation of consciousness from the body. About 45% of near-death experiencers report OBEs, which involves them seeing and often hearing ongoing earthly events from a perspective that is apart, and usually above, their physical bodies. Following cardiac arrest, NDERs may see, and later accurately describe, their own resuscitation. The first prospective study of the accuracy of out-of-body observations during near-death experiences was by Dr. Michael Sabom. This study investigated a group of patients who had cardiac arrests with NDEs that included OBEs, and compared them with a control group of patients who experienced cardiac crises but did not have NDEs. Both groups of patients were asked to describe their own resuscitation as best they could. Found that the group of NDE patients were much more accurate than the control group in describing their own resuscitations. Another prospective study of out-of-body observations during near-death experiences with similar methodology to Sabom's study. This study also found that near-death experiencers were often remarkably accurate in describing details of their own resuscitations. The control group that did not have NDEs was highly inaccurate and often could only guess at what occurred during their resuscitations. 2 large retrospective studies investigated the accuracy of out-of-body observations during near-death experiences. Of the case reports reviewed, 92% were considered to be completely accurate with no inaccuracy whatsoever when the OB observations were later investigated. Another large retrospective investigation of near-death experiences that included out-of-body observations was recently published. This study was a review of 617 NDEs that were sequentially shared on the NDERF website. Of these NDEs, there were 287 NDEs that had OBEs with sufficient information to allow objective determination of the reality of their descriptions of their observations during the OBEs. The high percentage of accurate out-of-body observations during near-death experiences does not seem explainable by any possible physical brain function as it is currently known. Further corroboration comes from the many NDEs that have been reported with accurate OB observations of events occurring far from their physical body, and beyond any possible physical sensory awareness. Moreover, NDE accounts have been reported with OBEs that accurately observed events that were completely unexpected by the NDERs. This further argues against NDEs as being a result of illusory memories originating from what the NDERs might have expected during a close brush with death. Line of evidence number 3. Near-death experiences with vision in the blind and supernormal vision. There have been a few case reports of near-death experiences in the blind. This investigation included 31 blind or substantially visually impaired individuals who had NDEs or out-of-body experiences. Of the 31 individuals in the study, 10 were not facing life-threatening events at the time of their experiences, and thus their experiences were not NDEs. There were 14 individuals who were blind from birth in this study, and 9 of them described vision during their experiences. This investigation presented case reports of those born totally blind that described in NDEs that were highly visual with content consistent with typical NDEs. An NDERF survey question asked 1,122 near-death experiencers, "Did your vision differ in any way from your normal, everyday vision, in any aspect, such as clarity, field of vision, colors, brightness, depth perception, degree of solidness, transparency of objects, etc.?" In response, 722, 64.3%, answered, yes, 182, 16.2%, said, uncertain, and 218, 19.4%, responded, no. A review of narrative responses to this question revealed that vision during NDEs was often apparently supernormal. Vision in near-death experiencers that are blind, including totally blind from birth, has been described in many case reports. This, along with the finding that vision in NDEs is usually different from normal everyday vision and often described as supernormal, further suggests that NDEs cannot be explained by our current understanding of brain function. Line of evidence number 4. Near-death experiences that occur while under general anesthesia. Prior studies using EEG and functional imaging of the brains of patients under general anesthesia provide substantial evidence that the anesthetized brain should be unable to produce lucid memories. Following cardiac arrest, the EEG becomes flat in 10 to 20 seconds, and there is usually amnesia prior to and following the arrest. The occurrence of a cardiac arrest while under general anesthesia is a combination of circumstances in which no memory from that time should be possible. Here is an illustrative example of an NDE that occurred under general anesthesia during surgery for a heart valve replacement. I reviewed 613 near-death experiences shared with NDERF, and found 23 NDEs that appeared to have occurred while under general anesthesia. Cardiac arrest was the most common life-threatening event that was described in association with the occurrence of these NDEs. I compared the responses of these 23 NDERs to the 590 non-anesthesia NDERs by reviewing how both groups responded to 33 survey questions that asked about the content of the NDEs. An NDERF survey question asked, "How did your highest level of consciousness and alertness during the experience compare to your normal everyday consciousness and alertness?" For the NDEs occurring under general anesthesia, 83% of the respondents answered, more consciousness and alertness than normal, to this question, compared to 437, 74%, for all other NDEs. This suggests, remarkably, that the level of consciousness and alertness in NDEs is not modified by general anesthesia. Other near-death experience investigators have reported NDEs occurring while under general anesthesia. NDEs due to cardiac arrest while under general anesthesia occur and are medically inexplicable. Line of evidence number 5. Some near-death experiences include a review of part or all of their prior lives. NDERs typically describe their life review from a third-person perspective. The life review may include awareness of what others were feeling and thinking at the time earlier in their life when they interacted with them. This previously unknown awareness of what other people were feeling or thinking when they interacted with them is often surprising and unexpected to the NDERs. In my review of 617 near-death experiences from NDERF, a life review occurred in 88 NDEs, 14%. None of the life reviews in these NDEs appeared to have any unrealistic content as determined by my review or based on comments by the NDERs about their own life reviews. Life reviews may include long-forgotten details of their earlier life that the NDERs later confirm really happened. If NDEs were unreal experiences, it would be expected that there would be significant error in life reviews and possibly hallucinatory features. The consistent accuracy of life reviews, including the awareness of long-forgotten events and awareness of the thoughts and feelings of others from past interactions, further suggests the reality of NDEs. Line of evidence number 6. Encountering deceased loved ones in near-death experiences. Near-death experiences may describe encounters with people that they knew during their earthly life. The following is an example of encountering a deceased loved ones in an NDE. This example is also notable as the NDER was born totally deaf. When people known to the near-death experiencers are encountered in NDEs, the great majority are people who are deceased. I reviewed 84 NDEs from NDERF that described encounters with individuals that they knew in their earthly life. 24 there were only 3 NDEs, 4%, where the encountered beings were alive at the time of the NDEs. In dreams or hallucinations when familiar persons are present they are much more likely to be living and from recent memory. 25 this is in sharp contrast to near-death experiencers where familiar persons encountered are almost always deceased. Cases have been reported by NDERs of seeing a person who they thought was living, but in fact had recently died. These cases illustrate that NDEs cannot be explained by the experiencer's expectation of what would happen during a life-threatening event. Line of evidence number 7. Near-death experiences of young children. Investigation of near-death experiences in very young children is important because at an early age they are less likely to have established religious beliefs, cultural understandings about death, or even an awareness of what death is. Very young children would be very unlikely to have heard about near-death experiences or understand them. I investigated the NDEs in children age 5 and younger in the same group of 613 NDERs previously discussed in the section on NDEs while under general anesthesia. 2 NDEs were excluded as they did not provide their age in the survey. The study groups included 26 NDERs that were age 5 and younger, average 3.6 years old, and 585 NDERs age 6 and older at the time of their NDEs. The NDERF survey included 33 questions about the content of their NDEs. Chi-square statistics was used to compare the responses to these 33 questions between the two groups. There was no statistically significant difference to the responses between the two groups to any of the 33 questions. The NDERF study found that the content of NDEs in children age 5 and younger appeared to be the same as the content of NDEs in older children and adults. Very young children have near-death experience content that is strikingly similar to older children and adults. This is further evidence that NDEs are occurring independently of pre-existing cultural beliefs, religious training, or awareness of the existence of NDE.